Good morning, friends. Are you ready to create today? Did you ever wonder why some trees, their leaves change colors and fall off in the winter, but other trees, we call them evergreens, stay green all year round? Well, that's because the leaf's job is to make food for a plant. And it does this by taking sunlight and water and carbon dioxide in a process called photosynthesis. So the more chlorophyll in a leaf, the greener it stays. And many trees have different shaped leaves. So we call this beautiful oak leaf, we call trees like oaks that drop their leaves, we call them deciduous. Can you say that? Deciduous? A maple leaf, sometimes they're bright orange and red, and they fall off. They're also deciduous. Evergreens are also called conifers. They're coniferous. Can you try saying that? Coniferous. Con, like cone, might help you remember because these are trees that have cones. Usually Christmas trees are evergreens, and they're spruces, they're firs. You might notice that evergreens have a really different shape. They have long, thin needles, and instead of once a year losing their color and falling off, like deciduous trees, evergreens lose a little bit all year round. And they have a thick waxy coating on their leaves and a different shape or structure that helps them keep more water in. Evergreens usually came from really cold climates. Today we're going to learn about different tree shapes. So leaves come in different shapes, trees come in different shapes. We're going to check out Winter Trees, this beautiful book by Carole Gerber, and illustrated by Leslie Evans. Winter Trees. You see some pine cones that come from pine trees. You might notice that artists often use light blue because the shadows in the snow for winter art, light blue, you might notice if you start looking at shadows on the snow that they come in different blue and purple tones, cool colors. In memory of John Day Engel Jr., a tree lover, poet, teacher, and friend to Kathy Hawks and the wonderful winter walks with the dogs. And here we see a red bird called a cardinal. Crunch, we walk through fresh new snow that sparkles on the frozen ground. It's peaceful here among the trees. Our footsteps make the only sound. Trees that once had leaves are bare. They're dressed instead of lacy white. Snow dusts their trunks and coats their limbs with flakes that outline them with light. They stand distinct as skeletons. We clearly see the form of each. The egg shape of the maple tree, this would have had the maple leaf. The taller oval of the beech. The V formation of the birch. The yellow poplar, wide and high. And the spreading structure of the oak. its branches reaching toward the sky. The sugar maple's bark is gray. Its twigs are brown. Its buds are stout, with claw-like tips that in the spring will burst to shoot new green leaves out. The beech tree, called American, has bark that's smooth and silver gray. Tan leaves still cling to its limbs and branches on this cold, bright winter day. The peeling bark of the paper birch feeds hungry hares that eat their fill. Inside the trunk, a narrow nest protects a bird from a winter's chill. Snow angels. Tall yellow poplars, furrowed bark surrounds a trunk that's straight and neat. Its reddish twigs hold puffy buds for deer, a tasty winter treat. See bur oak's ridged, enormous trunk, its massive limbs that intertwine, its tangled twigs that twist and point, a strange, bewitching tree to find. The evergreens don't change their look. We see their needles all year round, but older needles near the trunk drop off and fall onto the ground. Eastern hemlock's sloping branches droop with tiny twigs and cones. The hemlock lives for centuries. Look how large this tree has grown. White spruce looks like a pyramid. Cones hang from its branches near the crown. Don't touch its needles. Ouch, they're sharp. Its scaly bark is grayish brown. Before we go, let's roll some snow. We'll make a snowman who will wear small twigs and pine cones for his face and leaves from beech trees for his hair. You can identify trees in winter by looking at the shapes formed by their trunks and their bare limbs. Each type of tree has a distinct shape. A tree's bark, twigs, and inactive buds also help identify it in the winter. Twigs are the tiny branches that bear buds. These buds can produce leaves, flowers, or both. The trunks and branches of evergreen trees form distinct shapes too. Evergreens are covered with thin pointed leaves called needles. In spring, the buds on evergreen trees produce tiny branches. Small cones grow on the new branches of some evergreens. Other types of evergreens bear small seeds or berries. Every tree goes through a similar cycle each year. In spring, new leaves or branches grow from the buds. In summer, the tree keeps growing. In autumn, leaves from many types of trees die and fall off. In winter, these trees become dormant or inactive. Here's the shape of a sugar maple, which one of the things we like most from maple trees is maple syrup. The American beech shape, paper birch, yellow poplar, bur oak, eastern hemlock. Now these are coniferous trees, white spruce. And that's the end. Some more pine cones on the back. Goodbye, friends.